Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Exchanges webinar, which is an introduction to online analytics and talking about what you can measure. So just a quick run through the agenda. I'm going to introduce the presenters. We'll quickly show you how to ask questions and outline what it would be helpful for you to already know or have done before you do this webinar. And then a quick analysis of why it's important to manage and track and report your website and social media activities. And then we'll go into Facebook, Twitter, and getting started with Google Analytics. So my name's Marina Stedman. I'm head of marketing at the Good Exchange. So I run everything to do with marketing, including helping to educate all the users of the Good Exchange platform. And Misha Wallace, who many of you will know, is our client service administrator. So she's responsible for ensuring that you all have a good experience and you get your projects up and running on the Good Exchange as quickly and easily as possible. So this webinar is slightly more advanced than some of the ones we've done before. Ideally, to make the most of this webinar, you need to be able to access your organisation's Facebook page and your organisation's Twitter account. If you don't have a Facebook or Twitter organisation page, we have some introduction to social media training on our website under webinars, which shows you how to get started. To make the use of Google Analytics that we're going to cover, you will need to have a live website and you will need access to someone who can help you to add some code to that website. So why is it important to manage, track and report on what's going on your organisation's website and what's happening with your social media? If you look at the marketplace, online marketplace in the UK, you can see that there are nearly 67 million people. 95% of the people in the UK are internet users. So that they mean they all access websites and online services at some stage. Of those internet users, 67% are active users of social media. 58% of those social media users use their social media on a mobile device, so a mobile phone mostly. And people are spending a lot of time online. So the average person spends nearly 5 3/4 hours on one day using the internet. And using social media nearly 2 hours. I don't know who that is because that probably isn't some of us, but there's a lot of people who obviously do more than that to take that into account. And also 90% of the UK population of internet users use the internet every day. So that means it's very important for us to understand if we have a presence on the internet, who's visiting our website, how many of them, what they're doing, and are they the right people that we want to visit us? And this is an important, staggering figure. The average number of social media accounts per internet user is over 7. So when I counted up the number of social media accounts I had, I counted to about 6 or 7, and I didn't think I had very many. So why use analytics tools then to help your organisation understand that environment? So as you've seen, there are millions of people that you can target via your website and social media activity, but we've all got limited time and resources, so we need to make sure we're targeting the right people. So analytics and reporting helps us to work out what's working and what isn't, where people are going, what they like, what attracts them, what doesn't attract them. It can help you to understand where you spend your time, allow you to focus where you target your users and make more effective use of your time and resources, and also use it to set some goals. For example, at the Good Exchange, we had goals this year about how many people we had following us on Facebook and Twitter, how many visitors to our website, how many visitors to specific campaign pages on our website. But for you, for example, you might use your tracking on how many donations you're getting and from what sorts of people. But the great thing about analytics is a lot of the tools that you can have are free to use. Once they're set up, they're really easy to manage and they don't take very long to manage. So today we're going to cover 3 analytics tools. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Google Analytics. So I'm going to hand over to Misha, who's going to talk you through Facebook Insights.
Okay, so both Facebook and Twitter give you some really nice reports and statistics to let you know the success of your page. How is it doing? How many people is it reaching? So to start with Facebook, Facebook's reports are called Insights. So what is Facebook Insights? Well, it's a section alongside your organisation page on Facebook that gives you information about your page's performance. So information like demographic data about the audience that you're reaching and how people in general are responding to your posts. So why use Facebook Insights? Well, this information that they give you can help you to understand your audience that you're reaching. It can help you find the best times to post on your page so that you can reach the widest audience possible. It can help you track how far your posts are reaching on Facebook and identify the posts that you're sending out which perform the best. It also can help you to measure the results of advertising campaigns that you run on your page, but this is something that we'll cover in a later webinar, as this is surrounding Facebook advertising. So how to find Facebook Insights? All you need to do is log into Facebook and access your organisation Facebook page, and then from the list of titles along the top, select Insights. You'll then be presented with a list on the left-hand side. Now, Insights does give you quite a bit of information, so today we're just going to concentrate on 4 of the key sections in the list that you're given, and these are Overview, Likes, Posts and People. And these are some of the key ones that you would be looking to use. So the overview section can be particularly useful when you're looking to find out general information about your page and how it's doing. And you can see that here it presents you with a number of graphs and charts on the reach of your audience and the reach of your posts and how well you're doing. You can actually select different timescales here. To select another option, you would just go to last 7 days and change the selection so you can see a kind of general summary of how your page is doing over the last 28 days, for example. So to download information from Insights, all you need to do is click along to the right-hand side here and click Export Data, and this allows you to print and save a spreadsheet on the data of your page. You choose which data you would like to export to a spreadsheet, select a file format, which would normally be Excel, select a date range, and then click Export Data. And this allows you to save something for your own records. Again, on the overview page, if you scroll down to your 5 most recent posts, you'll see some statistics on the reach and engagement of your 5 last posts on Facebook. In this section, reach indicates the number of people who viewed each of these posts. This is the numbers here. Engagement indicates the number of people who reacted to your post by clicking on it to view more, or by liking, commenting, or sharing the post. So you can see the engagement of each one here. You can also click on an individual post in this section to look at the reach and engagement in more detail. Now, it can be a good idea to share out or schedule your most popular posts again, so they can continue to reach and engage more people. So, for example, we would probably send out this one and this one. You can see here the reach has been quite high, in particular on these 2 posts, and the engagement is also quite high. So we would look to post these again to continue to reach this nice wide audience. The likes section in your Insights shows the number of people who currently like your main page. Now, when this number reaches a milestone, so say it reaches 500 likes or 1,000 likes, 2,000 likes, you can create posts on your page to celebrate and thank your fans. And we've found that generally fans do quite like that because you're engaging with them directly. This graph that you're provided with also shows the increase and decrease in your audience number over time. So if it begins to decrease, what you could do is consider posting more content on your page on a regular basis to continue to keep your fans engaged and encourage more people to like your page. So it's about keeping their attention. The post section in Insights is useful when considering when to post to your page. What's the most useful time of day where people are going to see your posts? Clicking on when your fans are online can show you the peak times when the majority of your fans are accessing and looking at your page. And this can help you to determine when to send out most of your posts. So for example, here, you can see that the peak times for us are 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the evening, as this is when the graph is at its highest. So we would then look to schedule the majority of our posts at these times of the day. The people section in Insights highlights the demographics of your audience. So things like age, gender, and location. Now, this can help you when you're deciding what content to share with your audience. For example, if you have a low number here of people in London who are liking your page, you can consider then posting content relevant to that particular area to help engage with people in this location. So if one of your projects on the Good Exchange, for example, is an outreach program, perhaps for people in London, you can then start sending this out, posting a bit more about your project to try and bring people in from that area. In this example here, you can see that the majority of people are female accessing the page, aged 45 to 54, based in the UK, and primarily in West Berkshire, Oxford and London, and English speaking. So it gives you a nice overview of who your audience is. Selecting people reached shows the demographics of the people that your content is reaching. So in a similar way, you can see the majority of people in this demographic are female, again, aged 45 to 54 in the UK and based in Scotland, West Berkshire and London, and English speaking. So again, it's about the likers on your page, the content of your page and who they are. And this really does help you to direct your content and write specific content that will reach people. People engaged shows the demographics again of people with your content. So you can see again, it's a very, very similar graph. Okay, so that was a very quick overview of Facebook Insights. Have a play around with that and see how you get on with it. It does give you some very good data. And in a similar way, Twitter does the same thing. Instead of Insights, they call it Twitter Analytics. So again, what is Twitter Analytics? Very similar to Facebook, but just works slightly differently. It's again a section within your Twitter page that provides information about your page's performance, how people are responding to your tweets, and again, some data about your audience and who they are and the things they like to see. So again, why use it? Well, again, it can help you to understand your audience, track how far your tweets are reaching on Twitter, how successful are these tweets, and it can help you identify the ones which perform the best, so you can again send them out on a regular basis. So how to find Twitter Analytics? Well, you first of all log in to your Twitter account, click on your organisation's avatar on the top right, you can see this is our logo here, and then select Analytics from the drop-down menu. Now, if this is the very first time you've ever looked at Analytics, then click Turn Analytics On. And then going forward, you will be presented with an analytics dashboard that you can use. And this has a number of key sections, including home, tweets, audiences, and events. And these are the ones that we're going to look at now. So first of all, the home section in your dashboard is again quite similar to the overview one on Facebook, where it gives you a general summary of how well your page is doing generally. And it provides a summary of the follows and engagement of your page over the last month. Now, Twitter will always give you the last 28 days as its default selection. So it's a good idea to have a look at these every month to see how well your page is doing. The tweets section on the analytics gives you an overview of the engagement on your tweets, including the likes, replies, retweets, the number of times people click the links, and the general engagement rates. Similar again to Insights, you can download the tweets information to a spreadsheet for your own use. And to do so, you're just clicking on Export Data, same as before. The engagement rate that you're given here is something unique to Twitter, and it indicates how strong your engagement is in relation to general success of pages on Twitter. And Twitter considers 1% or above to be a healthy rate. So if you can keep that above 1, then that's good. Link click shows how many times people have clicked on links in your tweets, and this can help to establish the success of your tweets in driving people to other pages. For example, if you were posting about your project on the Good Exchange, you can see how many people are clicking on that link to come through to your project and support. Clicking on top tweets in your insights allows you to view your tweets which have performed the best, the ones who've had the most impressions, the most engagement from your audience. And similar again to Facebook, this is a good way of deciding which tweets to post again, so you can continue to attract this wide audience. The Audiences section provides information on your audience size, demographics, and interests. The Overview tab in this section shows a summary of this information. This includes the size of your audience and how many new followers you gain per day. So again, when this number reaches a milestone, you can continue to send out tweets to celebrate and thank your fans. And if the number is decreasing, again, consider posting more content regularly to keep your fans engaged and encourage more people to follow your page. And this really is quite important on Twitter because it's more of an instantaneous platform. So if you can get as many tweets out as you can, then that's a good thing. The interests of your followers, it will show you here as well. And you can see in this example, bizarrely, most followers are most interested in dogs, tech news, and music festivals and concerts. So this data is taken from the type of page they have and the things they tweet about and engage with. So again, a really nice overview of your audience. And the gender here, you can see the majority are female, and you can use this chart to kind of gain more information. Now, delving a bit deeper into the demographics, you click on the Demographics tab. So this gives you more of a focus on the gender, location, and language of your audience. And this can again help you to decide what content to tweet about. A very similar way, again, if this was low for London and you wanted to reach London, consider posting tweets that are aimed towards that particular area to reach the right audience that you want. In this example, you can see the majority are female, again, based in the UK, and primarily in England and English speaking. So quite similar information to Facebook Insights on your audience. Twitter Insights, Analytics also has an events section. Now, this is quite a useful thing. It highlights key events that are happening on Twitter and generally. For example, relevant hashtags like Charity Tuesday or Charity Week, or for example, awareness days like Mental Health Awareness Day 2019. And you can use this information that they give you to create relevant tweets on appropriate days and include popular hashtags, and this can help to attract a wider audience. The Overview tab shows upcoming key events, holidays, and awareness days, and you can see we've got 3 here in the example. But you can also search for particular events by name, and this can help you to find events which are related to your project on the Good Exchange or to your general activities. If you click on Recurring Trends, this helps you to find the popular hashtags, and you can include these in relevant tweets, again, to reach a wider audience. I'm now going to hand over to Marina, who's going to help you get started with Google Analytics.
Right, thanks very much, Misha. So as I said earlier, Google Analytics is mainly about understanding what's going on with your website. There are 3 steps that you have to undertake to get started with Google Analytics. First of all, you have to create a Google account. Then you have to create your Google Analytics account and tracking code and add it to your website, and then you can start tracking. So what's a Google account? Now, if you've used something like YouTube or Google Maps, you may well have a Google account. And I'll talk you through in a minute about how to check whether you've got one. So a Google account is a username and a password that you use to log in to Google applications. And once you've got a Google account, as well as accessing Google Analytics, you can access loads of other things like YouTube, Google Ad Grants, Google Docs, for example, Google Maps. So if you don't have a Google account, you need to create one to access Google Analytics. If you've got a Gmail account, which is a free Google account with an email address ending in gmail.com, then you would already have a Google account. But just to be even more confusing, you don't have to have a Gmail account to have a Google account. So for example, I use my Good Exchange email address as my Google account, and I'll show you how to set up a Google account with a different email address than a Gmail address. So also one little tip, if you're using Google Apps and accounts, then they work best with the Google Chrome browser, because Google obviously optimizes its applications to work with its own browser. So you can use analytics and things like that in, say, Microsoft Edge or Firefox, but they don't always work quite as well. So how to check if you know that you've got a Google account. So if you signed on to a Google product before, you can just log in as usual. So you can go through this link or the way you usually log in and just type in your email and you'll see the Google welcome page. If you're not sure if you've got a Google account, click on this link, google.com accounts forgot passwords, and you'll see a message that you've either got an account, recover it if you've forgotten your password, so put your email in here, enter the last password you knew, and it will send you an email or a text message depending on how you set up your Google account. So if you've got one, go through that link and it will know if you've got one or not, and it will allow you to reset your password if you've forgotten it through a standard verification process. If you haven't got one, start the sign up process. So click on this link and you'll get this create your Google account page. So the first thing to do is change your location to English United Kingdom, unless you want to be in Afrikaans. And then if you don't want to create a Gmail account, because most of us have got other accounts, click here on use my current email address instead. And then what you can do is enter the email address that you want to use for your Google account. So here we can see we've used machines from the Good Exchange. So you just put this in, put your password in, click next, and then Google will send you a verification code to the email address that you put in on the previous step. So to check that it's really you setting up this Google account. So put the code in that it sends you, click on verify, and then you'll have to add your personal details, such as a phone number, your date of birth, and I'll show you later how to make your date of birth invisible, and your gender. So also, it's worth adding your phone number in to verify. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed that lots of organisations now are using mobile phone text-based verification. So you try and sign into something and it sends you a text message with a code. So if you put your mobile phone number in at this stage, you don't have to, you can say not now, but it's quite useful for dual stage verification, which you'll probably need in future to reset your password if you've forgotten it. Now, Google being Google, there are a lot of terms, so you can next get presented with the terms. You can scroll down and read them all. Once you're happy with them, you will have to accept their terms of service here before you can click on create account. And again, it says, are you sure you really want to do this? And then confirm. So then when you've created your account, you'll see this standard Google account welcome page. So this is what Machine got when she was new. So everybody gets this page. Now you can go in and reset your personal information. So go to your Google account and sign in. You'll see an account settings page. You can see here you've got options to do things like change your password, edit your email addresses, for example. So if you click on the top right-hand circle, you can see here it says M. I mean, it might be in different colours. It won't always be blue. I think Machines was purple. Then you have an option to add a photo. For example, if you want to add a photo, click on the change in that circle there. Select a photo from your computer. Drag the square around till you've got the right bit of your face in it, and then click on Set as Profile Photo. So then your photo appears on your Google account. And then you can see here my photos appeared. Now to change my personal details, so I mentioned earlier about not making my date of birth public. Click on my face, click on Google account, click on personal info there, and I can see what's public and what's private. So you can see here, you can see I'm very old. I was born on the January 1st, 1900, and you can choose what you want people to see about your gender. But if I want to change whether my date of birth is visible, I click on the Go to About Me link at the bottom, and you can see there's a padlock here. So this padlock means that my date of birth is private and I'm the only one who can see it. If you've got a globe there, click on the padlock and you can see that just move the tick up to padlock instead of having it on the globe, and then your birthday will be hidden. So you can't not put your date of birth in. You can make one up like I did, but you can make it hidden from public view. So once you've gone through all those steps, you then have a Google account, which you need to start using Google Analytics. Now, what is Google Analytics? If you've never seen it, its main use is for analysing traffic or visitors to your website. So it helps you to understand what's going on your website, where the people are going, where they're coming from, what they're looking at. And also you can use Google Analytics to look into some of your social media marketing activities as well. And I'll show you a little bit of that at the end. So as well as using the tools that Nisha showed you directly in Twitter and Facebook, you can do some social media analysis in Google Analytics. So once you've got your Google account, you can set up your Google Analytics account. So go to this page, marketing platform, I've got the link there, and we will be sending out a link to all the slides and the recording, so you don't worry about writing it all down. Click on Start for Free. So once you're presented with this page, you just want to sign up. Once you've signed up, the next time you go in, it'll all be there automatically and you won't need to go through this process. So what you want to do in this scenario is a website. So click on the website option here and give your account a name. Now, the best thing to do if it's an organisation website is give the account a name that matches the name of your organisation. So you see here, we've got the Good Exchange. And obviously the name of our website is the Good Exchange. And then you have to put the URL in for your website. Now, most websites these days are moving to a secure protocol. So if your website's got HTTPS in front of it and not HTTP anymore, make sure that you click on this down arrow here and change the default to HTTPS. But don't do it unless your website is using that protocol. And you'll be able to see from when you access your website through a browser which one you use. And then select the industry category closest to the one that your organisation operates in. So it might be people, it might be animals, probably something like that if you're in a charitable sector. And select your time zone for reporting. So it's important. So Google will default everything to the US and something like that. So make sure you change it to the United Kingdom, because then when you get your Google reports, they'll be set up to look at the right time zone for you. So what happens when you've done that, a button will appear at the bottom that says Get Tracking ID. So you click on the Get Tracking ID button, and then you will have to accept more terms of service. So The important thing here when you're accepting the terms of service is to make sure that you choose the terms of service for the United Kingdom. So across the world, each different country has its own requirements for online platforms. So Google has to adhere to whatever the United Kingdom government says are the rules. So make sure you change that to the UK, and then you'll be presented with Google Analytics terms of service for the UK. So you will have to accept the data processing terms for GDPR, and I hope all of you know about the EU requirements for data processing in the EU. So Google has to comply with those for anyone working in the UK or operating in the UK. And you have to accept the data protection terms. And unless you tick these two boxes, you won't be able to accept the terms and conditions for Google Analytics or use Google Analytics. Once you've ticked them, you can then click on the I accept button, and you will be presented with a page which gives you a tracking ID, and you can see some code here. So keep a note of your tracking ID, but I will show you how to go back and find it if you need it later. Now, what do you do with a tracking ID? At the moment, if you're just looking at your website activity, you don't need to use your tracking ID. But if you, for example, have a YouTube channel, if you're running Google adverts, if you're running online banner adverts, if you've got a shopping site or you've got a mobile application, you can put that tracking ID, so that number here, UA, whatever it is, you can put that in your YouTube channel. You can put it in your Google ads. You can put it in your emails that you send out. And you can then, on your Google Analytics, you can track how effectively those things are working, because it will identify that that link, for example, has come from that video on that YouTube channel, or that click has come from that Google advert. But if you're just looking at what's happening on your website, you don't need to use a tracking ID at the moment. You'll also get asked if you want to have Google Analytics on your phone, which you might want to do if you want to look at Google Analytics when you're out and about. So once you've got your tracking ID and your tracking code, the next bit you need to do is insert this tracking code here on every page on your website. So probably what we do is we get our website administrator to put this in for us. So probably if you're in a large organization, that website administrator might be internal, or otherwise it might be someone external, a third party who's running your website for you. And they will know exactly what to do with this code. So if you give them this code and say this is a global site tag and it has to go in the head of every web page you want to track, they will know what to do with it. So don't worry about doing that yourself. I wouldn't do it myself. So the other thing that's important, if you are, especially, well, any sort of organization, you want to measure the real external traffic to your website, and you want to exclude anyone who works at your organization. So, for example, at the Good Exchange, we don't track how many visits, including the count of visitors, the people who work at the Good Exchange. So the important thing to do from this property settings, the main important thing, is to set your referral exclusion list. So click on that link there, go to the referral exclusion list, and you'll see that the website that you started with, and this is just a demo, so your website, goodexchange.com, whatever, will automatically list as an option to remove from tracking, because Google says, well, you want to remove the one that we're tracking. Click on remove, and what that will do will exclude visits by people who go to the site from your internal network. So, for example, here, this exclude TGEIP is our Google Analytics track it property, excluding everyone who works at the Good Exchange. So when we're counting how many visitors we had, we don't count ourselves, which we obviously don't want to do. So we've set up our analytics, we've got our tracking code, we've put it on our website. How do we know if it's working? So you sign into your analytics account using your Google account login. You'll be presented with your analytics page because it knows who you are. Click on the admin cog at the bottom left of your page and click on the tracking info link. You can see that there. Then click on tracking code, which will turn red, and you should get this message at the top, receiving traffic. If you're not receiving traffic, I go back to your website developer or your website hoster or your website team and say it's not working. And don't spend a long time looking at it. So you can see here, this is the Good Exchange website, analytics, it's been receiving traffic, so we know it's working. You can also use this same route to find your Google tracking ID. You can see I've covered up some of ours, but it would be there on the page. So if you need it for a campaign going forward, you can always go back through that route and find it again. So it's all working. Now you can start monitoring. So to sign into your analytics account, just click on this link, save it as a bookmark in Chrome. That's always a good way to get to it. And then it should remember who you are and you won't have to log in each time. So what does Google Analytics measure? Google Analytics can measure anything that you're tracking. So on your website, you can see in the analytics report, you've got two things, main things. They're called dimensions and metrics. And I'll show you some examples. So dimensions are really how you describe the data. So it might be visitors to your website who might be new visitors who haven't been before, or returning visitors who have been before. It might be where they come from. So the location, what city, what country are they in? What city are they in? Or the source. How did they get to your website? Or what did they do on your website?
So if you want to see a summary of the actual
social media
pages that have been
and
visited,
metrics
which are the most popular,
the numbers.
which have the highest bounce
So if you're looking
rate,
at
for
website
example,
traffic,
click
the
on
country would be the dimension and the number of
behaviour
visitors
link
from
on the
that
left-hand
country
side menu,
would be
and
the
then
metric.
on overview, and you'll see a summary
So here's an
of all the
example. So
website
here's
visits during the
the
time
Good
period. So
Exchange
you can see here
website
it's
with
1st of
us,
March,
the Good
the
Exchange
2nd
staff
of April.
excluded. You can see
You'll
I've
be able
taken
to
out some
see
of the
the
numbers,
total page
but you can
views
see
for
the
each
dimension we
page, and the
dimension
total
here is
page views for your
the
website,
country
the average
and the
time on
city.
page,
So
and
you
the
can see
overall
here
average bounce rate.
top
And the numbers that are
city
exiting
for the visitors in the time
overall
period
from
that I'm
visiting
looking at
just
here
one
was
page. You
London.
can see I've blanked the
And you can
numbers
see
out because
that
this is the Good
23% came
Exchange
from London,
website.
6% from new users.
If
This
you
is
want to
users. And then this
see
one here
what's happening on a
is new
particular page,
users.
so it might have
So
a
this is
high
people who
bounce
haven't
rate, for
been
example, just
to the
click on the
website before.
link
And then you can
in
also
the
look at
page
things here
list
like
that you can
bounce rate.
see
So
there,
bounce rate
and you'll
is
see
the
for that
number of
page
people
the
who
number of
go to
page
your
views,
website and
the
bounce
average time
straight
on the
off without
page,
going to
the
another
number of
page.
entrances, i.e.
So
people
what's
who've gone straight to
important
that page, and the bounce
for
rate for that
website
page, and people
users
who
or
have
any
exited
organisation that's got a
straight
website
from
is you
that
don't
page. So
want to
you can
have
look at
a
what's
high
happening
bounce
with
rate
an
because it
individual
means people are
page,
going to
and
your
then
website and
make
they're not
amendments
finding what they
as
want.
required.
So ideally you want people to not bounce from your website, and also this page is per session. You want people to visit more than one page. So one thing about your website is you're trying to take people on a journey. And you also, average session duration is how long they stay there. So you want people to not bounce off straight away, to visit a number of pages and to stay there for a long time. So basically this is what this page is showing us. So what can you do with Google Analytics? You can look at your audiences, who's doing what, who's visiting your site, and you can use that information, just as Misha talked about with Twitter and Facebook, to make sure you're reaching the right people you want to reach in the right places, and that your content and messaging is right for those people. So your audience reporting, you can see now this is working. We've moved to an analytics page that's got information on. And just a note on the bottom, this isn't actually our data, it's demo data. But it shows exactly what it's looking at. So audience reports are located on the left-hand menu in this red rectangle. So what it shows you is the demographics and characteristics of your users, such as countries, cities, and technology and how they access the site. So you can get an audience overview. So here you can see I'm looking at several days, and that just the same with as Twitter and Facebook. You can click on these different buttons here. You can get a month view, a week view, a day view, or an hour view, or you can even set a custom view. And again, you can export the data if you want. You can see you get charts that show you new visitors versus returning visitors. So if you want to see how many people are visiting your website, you click under audience, you click on active users. Now an active user is someone that had at least one session on your site. So session is going to visit it in the last day, 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, etc. It's called site reach or stickiness. It's about how many people go to your site. So you can see in these demo data, there were nearly 2,000 in one day and about 46,000 in a month. So it's quite useful for you to see who's visiting your site and how many active users you've got. And ideally, in any sort of website, you'd be trying to grow the number of visitors that you have to your site. The demographics reports, in a very similar way to Facebook and Twitter, give you ideas about the age and gender. So you can see here in this demo example, we've got a bit of a spike in the 25 to 34-year-olds. We've got mostly male visitors. Now, to collect the demographics information, you have to agree that you want this to be done. So to do that, you will need to enable the demographics reports. So to do that, you need to, again, go back to admin at the bottom of the page, click on property settings in the list that will appear. And under advertising features, you've got this button. So you have to click it and make sure enable demographics and interest reports is turned on. And that will allow Google Analytics to start collecting the demographics and interest data of your visitors. And again, much as Misha showed on Twitter, you can drill down further into this and see the interests of your visitors who come to the web page. I'm not going to show you that today because we haven't got time. So next, moving on, you can have geography reports. So Google Analytics can determine where people come from. So it looks at their IP address. So it looks at the network address of where their internet is working from. So you click on the geo in the left-hand side, and you can see here in this example, we've got a lot of visitors from the US, the next is the UK, and then we've got the countries underneath. So you might use this data, for example, to see if you've got any issues with the country. So for example, here on the UK, we have quite a high bounce, so over half people visiting the UK page or from the UK are leaving it on the first page that they visit, and they're only visiting 3.5 pages compared to nearly 10 with visitors from the US. And they're staying on the website only for 1 minute compared to 3 minutes from our US visitors. So you might look at that and think, well, we need to do more with our UK page. And if you're an international organisation, you might want to look at the country pages and think maybe we need more content that's translated. You can also look at behaviour reports. So I mentioned about new visitors versus returning visitors. And again, looking at your goals, are you trying to sign up new donors? Are you trying to encourage repeat donations? So your behaviour report shows you the ratio of new visitors to your site compared to returning visitors. And again, you can do that over time. You can do a day, a month, a week, or even a custom time period. Then if you're interested, you can also look at the technology. Now, this is important to help you tailor the content. So some things that people get when they're building websites is that increasingly people are using their mobile phones to look at websites, and it's important to make your website pages what's called responsive. So responsive means that when you look at it on a phone, it shrinks, or maybe look at the different devices. But here we're looking at browsers. So we can see here that the most popular browser is Chrome, but you might, for example, see that your users use Safari a lot and you have a high bounce rate from Safari. You can see here we have. So we might want to talk to our website developer and say, Safari might not be working very well for our website. Can you have a look at it? Can you test it? Okay, and you may need technical changes, for example. As I said, you can review the use of your devices, desktop, mobile, and tablet. So you can see for this one, desktop's the highest, and we've got mobile. So then you can tailor your content accordingly. Now, looking at where your users are coming from, this comes under what's called acquisition. So we're now looking at acquisition reports on Google Analytics. So if you look at the overview, you get an overview by time period of the acquisition channels. Now, just to explain channels, so you can see this pie chart here. You've got direct, organic, search, etc. So if it says direct, it means the visitors are either typing your website or your page URL directly into a browser, or they've bookmarked your page. So they might have saved it as a favorite. So for example, for the Good Exchange, we have quite a lot of direct visitors from people who've bookmarked their project page. So we see a lot of direct visits from projects. Organic search is where the user searched on a word. So you might search for, I don't know, charity platform, or you might search for charity donations, and the search engine, such as Google, would match your search query based on relevance. So important here to think about when you're writing your website and putting content on your website, to think about what your users are going to be searching for and making sure your content is relevant, because search engines are very clever and they will rank your website higher up the search page if you've got relevant content. The referral traffic is where people are clicking on a link to that page on your website from another source. So for example, from another website, from a link in an email, or from an online advert. Social is where the link's coming from social media. So this is where you can start to link the stuff that Misha talked about with Twitter and Facebook. Paid search is paid for Google Ads. Now, I don't know how many of you know, but if you're a charity or a not-for-profit, you can get up to $10,000 per month to do Google advertising free from Google. And that's a whole nother webinar that we're not going to cover today. And an email is just an example of a custom tracking thing. So in this case, they created a custom tracking link for emails that they're sending out. So that gives you an example. So you can see in this case, most people are coming to the website directly. The next level down is people are searching for a word and it's finding the website on, say, Google, and then they're clicking on the link there. So the acquisition overview shows you then the number of visitors coming from each channel. You can see I've taken out the numbers because this is the Good Exchange's website, but you can see from our point of view, we're getting most visitors directly. Second is organic search. Third is referral. Fourth is search, social, and fifth is our paid search. If you click on a channel, so if I go back up here, if you click on direct here, you can see it's showing me which pages people are going to directly to the Good Exchange website. If you click on referrals, I can drill down to see what third parties sites are driving people to us. As you can see, Facebook is the top referrer. This TCO, that's Twitter. That's mobile Facebook. That's Facebook on a device. That's a Good Exchange support, for example.
So if you want to see a summary of the actual pages that have been visited, which are the most popular, which have the highest bounce rate, for example, click on the behaviour link on the left-hand side menu and then on overview, and you'll see a summary of all the website visits during the time period. So you can see here it's 1st of March to 2nd of April. You'll be able to see the total page views for each page and the total page views for your website, the average time on page and the overall average bounce rate, and the numbers that are exiting overall from visiting just one page. You can see I've blanked the numbers out because this is the Good Exchange website. If you want to see what's happening on a particular page, so it might have a high bounce rate, for example, just click on the link in the page list that you can see there, and you'll see for that page the number of page views, the average time on the page, the number of entrances, i.e. people who've gone straight to that page, and the bounce rate for that page, and people who have exited straight from that page. So you can look at what's happening with an individual page and then make amendments as required.
Google Analytics is in depth. What I would suggest you do if you're interested, sign up, follow the webinar, play around with it, and then you can get to the hang of what's going on. Now, there are a lot of some help resources you can have. So on every page in Google Analytics, there's a question mark. So click on that and you can get online help. And also there's this fantastic Google Academy where they've got training videos right from beginners to advanced. So it's well worth signing up to the Google Academy if you're interested in going into more detail in Google Analytics. Now that's the end of the formal presentation. I think we've got a few questions.
We do have some questions on Google Analytics, free paid advertising.
So if you do want to take advantage of free Google AdWords, you need to apply through their Google for Nonprofits program. Then you can create Google ads to target, for example, potential donors or people who are searching for charities like yours. If you qualify, you can get up to $10,000 a month in AdWords advertising, and that's a lot of money to spend. You have to be a valid charity or non-profit. You have to agree to their requirements, have a live website with substantial content, which means more than a couple of pages, and achieve a 5% plus click-through rate. So that click-through rate is the number of people who click on your advert who see it. So at least 5% of people who see your advert have to click. There are some requirements about keywords you can use. For example, you can't use a single keyword like charity. You have to use two keywords like charity fundraising or charities for kids. But you can link your adverts through to your fundraising project pages on the Good Exchange platform, for example, and drive people to make donations and do fundraising activities. And if you haven't got skills in creating AdWords, there is an AdWords Express option where people have got limited skills, where Google will help you to do that. And here's the link below to start your application. If you're interested in website and Facebook advertising grants, the Transform Foundation is a registered charity, and they provide grants to help UK and Irish organisations create websites and do Facebook advertising. And they're specifically targeting at the moment small and mid-sized charities. So for website development, you can get funding of up to £18,000, which includes the strategy, design, training and everything to launch a new website optimized for mobile, which is fantastic if you haven't got one of those. And you can get grants of up to £5,000 for Facebook advertising and a managed service that's free. But to qualify for that, you have to have over 1,000 Facebook likes and be able to continue to manage your Facebook adverts once the funding's been used. But there's a couple of links here, so if you're interested in that, have a look at the links and then see if you're eligible and start your application. You can also amend your messaging. So for example, in your social media messaging, you can amend it to put messages in for things that people are looking at. You can look at hashtags that Misha mentioned. So look at things that are trending. If something's trending, it means a lot of people are following that hashtag. So if you've got a message that's relevant to those people, put that hashtag in your tweet, and all the people that are following that hashtag will see your message. So a lot of things about social media and about websites, it's about content. So the better your content, the search platforms as well on your website will move your website higher up the search rankings if you've got good content, and also if you are continually updating your content. What search engines don't like is static content that doesn't change. And they don't like it when organizations have content in their websites that isn't relevant to what Google thinks the organization is doing.
Also consider your posts and tweets tagging in other relevant organizations, because then when you do that, they can see that you have included them in your posts and tweets, and they're quite likely to engage with your tweet and share it out as well, so it kind of spreads the word a little bit more. So tagging certainly too. Also, someone's asking if hashtags really work and should you use them on Facebook. So taking Twitter, first of all, absolutely use hashtags. They work extremely well on Twitter, especially any that are popular.
And make sure they're relevant.
Make sure they're relevant.
Yes,
it's concise and relevant. Facebook, tagging is used a little bit on Facebook, but it's not as effective as Twitter, because that's where it started. It started on Twitter. So you can use the odd one in Facebook, certainly wouldn't use any more than 2. And even in Twitter, don't bombard your tweet with too many hashtags, as it does put people off a little bit. So 2, maybe 3 relevant hashtags are plenty.
The other thing you can do on Twitter and Facebook is follow organisations that are relevant, and then quite often they will follow you back, and then that means that they'll see your tweets and posts, and then they may retweet them or like them, and then you'll get more reach.
And it might be worth your while having a look on our website in the webinar section, because we've run an introduction to Facebook and Twitter webinar, but we've also run next steps to using Twitter and Facebook. And they're quite useful. We've kind of covered how to reach a wider audience, things you can do. So do have a quick look at them as well, and see if they can help with reaching your audiences. Okay, if we don't have any others, as I say, do contact us and support at thegoodexchange.com if you have any later. And we'd be happy to answer them individually as well.
So thank you very much for joining. We hope you found it interesting. We found it interesting putting it together. Yep. And look out for the next, we're going to be putting together a series of these webinars, and I aim to be doing once a month. So look out for our schedule coming on the website. So thanks very much everyone for joining.